Hey guys, what's up? It's me again, Ryoga V. I'm here to ask the age-old question, why does Silicon Valley hate black people? It seems to me every day there's a mainstream story in the news regarding a conservative African American on any of the major social media platforms being harassed, censored, silenced, sandboxed, or just outright banned from their services. What started out with social media sites attempting to crack down against hate speech, teaming up with such organizations such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, who, mind you, put renowned black surgeon and presidential candidate Ben Carson on their extremist watch list, quickly evolved into a widespread totalitarian enforcement of wishy-washy terms of service that saw all discussions that even slightly dissented from their mainstream preferred viewpoints besieged. And spawned from that what we've seen as a flurry of targeted attacks and censored content from African Americans who don't really toe the line of the narrative. So, what is that narrative? Hyper-progressive, extremely liberal leftist ideology. You see, believe it or not, Silicon Valley has always had it in for black folk. Just look at their diversity reports over the past 10 years. You see, you'll find that these social media companies will aggressively virtue signal their love for the black community and always speak of inclusivity and diversity within their own platforms. However, when it comes to actually giving opportunities to these groups, they are severely lacking. One need not look too far to find dozens and dozens of mainstream articles criticizing the statistics for the lack of African Americans at these popular tech companies. Take this article from The Guardian that claims that Twitter only employs 49 African Americans, despite their pledges for diversity, and it even makes the case that Twitter is actually exploiting their large minority user base for ad revenue. In fact, it was only a few years ago where Twitter's only senior black engineer resigned his position after pleading with the company to do better in its diversity efforts. Now, after leaving the company and writing a scathing open letter, it was alleged that Senior VP of Engineering Alex Rutter was heard stating, and I quote, "Diversity is important, but we won't lower the bar." Now, subsequently, in a rush to combat said accusations of being unwilling to focus on hiring minorities, Twitter then opened up a new position and hired a fresh new VP of Diversity and Inclusion, a white guy. Because nothing says more that you want to focus on hiring black folks at your company, like hiring a white guy to do it. And to go a step further, Twitter just recently released their 2017 diversity reports, and based off their own data, they've actually seen a decline in people of color working for the company. And even when we take a look at all of Silicon Valley's top tech companies, from Amazon, Apple, Google, Intel, Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter, the ones that have the lowest number of black employees are those that focus on social media. Now, in the case of YouTube, they have a very long history of discriminating against the views and content of both conservative and liberal black people. In one shocking instance, creator and trans rights activist Kat Black posted a very informative piece about the historical freak show-like mistreatment of once overly sexualized slave Sarah Bartman. Information that you could possibly find in just about any history book. Now, according to a screenshot that Kat posted, after the video had been available for a number of years, YouTube then went back and flagged it and deleted it because it was a violation of community guidelines. And yet, during that same time frame, creators like PewDiePie and Jake Paul, who were not too shy about using the N-word on their channel, or even creators like Daddy of Five, for months showed horrific abuse, both physical and mental, to their children. They were given preferred treatment. And just tiny side note, Daddy of Five's YouTube page is still sitting there, even after Child Protective Services took their kids away, but you know, it's still there. Just last week, Dave Rubin posted an interview with political philosopher and author Thomas Sowell, which, after being up for only a few hours, was demonetized after manual review. Which begs the question, what in that interview could have been so offensive after a manual review would require demonetization?
You were a Marxist at one time in your life.
But it's not that unusual.
So then what was your wake up to what was wrong with that line of thinking?
Facts.
Facts do not care about your feelings. Or how about YouTube's celebration for Black History Month, which I love? The song that they used to promote this event was none other than Injury Reserve's All This Money. Because nothing says let's celebrate the accomplishments of a strong, dignified, well-respected community like using a song that promotes drug use, strippers, and acting belligerent. And we can't ignore this absolutely racist and tone-deaf tweet. Now, this post, which was aimed to boost the channels of black content creators, really didn't go over so well with social media users. People started chastising YouTube for promoting skin color over quality content. Now, if YouTube really wanted to boost the subscriber numbers of African Americans, then they really should be seeking out quality people of color to promote. And the thing is, it's not that hard an issue to fix. Man, put them on the front page, put your money where your mouth is, flash that cash and give up one of them lucrative YouTube red deals that you were so happy to give Logan Paul. But I get it. They'd rather promote videos of white kids going into the hood harassing black people than actually addressing the real problem. Hashtag, it's a prank, bro.
What you doing? It was a prank. It was a prank. It's a prank. Yo, it's a prank, bro. It's a prank.
Now, YouTube is not the only site to be faced with controversy over their treatment of African Americans. Facebook has a consistent history of not only banning and suspending black folk, but taking harsh actions against them when they themselves are the victims of racial harassment. Take comedian Ray Sunny, for example. She received this comment, "Kill yourself," only to be told it was not a violation of Facebook's terms of service. However, she did receive a 24-hour ban for posting the comment, "Men are scum." Another comedian on Facebook, Terrence Williams, was suspended just for posting abusive messages that he was receiving. And in a story that has made national news and has been the topic of congressional discussions is the drama over the Facebook pages of social media personalities and video bloggers Diamond and Silk. You know what? I'm going to let Ted Cruz speak on this for me.
I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. And most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers after determining their content and brand were, quote, unsafe to the community. To a great many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias.
In the world of Twitter, however, we saw them refer to conservative African-American Candace Owens as a far-right media personality. Come on, y'all. Y'all know what that's code for. And to take their level of disrespect even further, while she was trending on Twitter after being mentioned by Kanye West, they misspelled her name even though it is clearly written there in the tweet. And even today, while I'm producing this video, Sky Williams, who's a popular African-American YouTuber and former victim of sexual assault, had been harassed for talking about his personal experiences. Today, he was permanently suspended from Twitter for violating their rules against hateful conduct. Now, what is this conduct, you might ask? For telling his harassers to kick rocks. I kid you not, that is why they permanently suspended him. And even I've been the victim of hateful tweets. Just take a look at this one back from 2016 where Matt Giles called me a chicken and watermelon eating only to have Twitter respond to me and say that they were unable to take action given that they could not determine a clear violation of Twitter's rules. And yet, Twitter pages such as Coonwatch sit there untouched and hosted since 2015. You see, the truth is, with Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube's insistence on protecting their users against prejudice, bullying, and hate speech, they sure do spend a lot of time discriminating against common sense mainstream ideas, particularly coming from people of color. And to me, more and more, it seems like Silicon Valley really doesn't care so much about black people as they do their overly progressive, mistakenly woke mainstream ideas that they think black people want to hear. All so they can virtue signal themselves into our good graces. And if you ask me, these companies simply don't want black Americans thinking for themselves. And so it begs the question, with all these instances of stereotyping, censorship, and all-around poor decision-making, who's to blame? I just illustrated to you what is but a tiny fraction of incidents relating to African Americans' unfair and unequal treatment on these social media platforms. And so I ask, who's making these decisions? Who amongst these companies is looking out for the feelings of black folk? Who was toiling over posts, DMs, videos, and tweets to make sure our poor, fragile feelings go unhurt? Well, we know it ain't brothers like me since these companies have a history of not hiring minorities, which must mean it's supposed woke-ass liberal white men. And frankly, I don't feel comfortable with the idea of white liberals making decisions on what is and is not offensive to black people. You see, I'm really confused. Intersectionality says that white men have privilege over black people and also control the narrative. So I don't really feel comfortable with white folks telling black people what is and is not acceptable for us to write, consume, post, or respond to. It's easier to understand the nonsensical left-splaining when you realize that they are extremely racist by design and nature. You see, the point I'm trying to make here is that Silicon Valley has made it very clear on where they stand. Socially progressive leftist ideology, and that's fine. I'm in no way saying that that's a bad thing. What does bother me is these social media companies who champion themselves as bastions of free speech and welcoming of a diverse array of ideas, only really seem to care about diversity when it fits their agenda, or when black folks is shucking and jiving or acting or sharing the views of black people that they're comfortable being around. And to be very frank, I got no love for any organization that tells me or any of my black brothers and sisters who we can listen to, read, watch, think about, or even vote for. Black people are not a monolith. We are not a hive mind. We are as diverse in thought and opinion as we are in skin tone. And these companies need to understand that if they want our time and our eyes for advertising dollars, we are not built like spandex. There is no one size fits all when it comes to the fam. So please, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, act like you mean it. Stop saying you want to hire more minorities. Just do it. Don't try. Do. Stop limiting the free speech of black content creators. Let the free market of ideas decide on who we do or do not give our attention to. And by all means, stop retaliating against us for defending ourselves against the very racist, ignorant, backwards thinking users that you claim to be dedicated to protecting us from. And please stop making proclamations on what black folks' particular interests should be and start listening to black people like us. You see, these knee-jerk reactions of censorship are not winning you any points in our community. See, even according to the Pew Research Center, blacks are amongst the highest demographic that use your services. So we know you want our money, y'all just don't want our opinions that come along with it. But hey, as the great Kanye West said, when you try hard is when you die hard. Peace out, y'all.
La, la, wait till I get my money right. La, 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 then you can't tell me nothing, right? Excuse me, are you saying something? Ha ha, you can't tell me nothing. Ha ha, you can't tell me nothing. Ha ha, you can't tell me nothing.